Hello and welcome everyone. Craig Forrestall coming to you with the 2019 NFL Draft Player Profile. Today what we're going to do is we're going to take a trip down to West Virginia, spend a little bit of time analyzing wide receiver Tyre Brady, Marshall Thundering Herd. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into Tyre Brady's background information. He's a wide receiver, spent more than his fair share of time in college as a redshirt senior, has bounced around a couple other programs, but he comes from the talent-rich South Florida area, coming from Miami-Dade County down in Homestead. He started off his career with the Miami Hurricanes, but we'll get into that in a little bit as to how he ended up at Marshall. So, ideal size at 6'3", 206. It didn't really go how he had planned or how a lot of people planned his career to go at the University of Miami, and we can jump into his college stats real quick, and we can go ahead, we can look, and we can see that 2014, 2015, where he spent his freshman and sophomore years for the Canes. You go ahead and see that sophomore years when he got a little bit of run with the Canes. He was suspended for the final 3 games of the season, though, which did lead to the transfer. I'll let you go ahead and take a look online to make your own conclusions about that suspension and whether or not that was what led up to the transfer and all those things. But there are some articles online that speculate that, say that, but I'm not going to say one way or the other. But you can go ahead, you can see that once he did leave Miami, he spent those 2 years at Marshall, and what he did is exactly what he needed to do to properly impact his draft stock. Dominated the competitions. You can see that he was good for over 130 catches in those 2 years, north of 1,900 yards, 17 touchdowns. So definitely put up numbers, did exactly what he had to do, very consistent both years in terms of touchdowns, yards, receptions, everything along those lines. Now, if you've been following us for a little bit, you'll know this is the part that I get very excited about. This is the one-eyed monster. This is the game film. So that one-eyed monster, the game film, the camera, what it does is it spits back whether it was a positive or a negative rep for you every single play that you're out on the field. And what I did is I went through and I took a look at 4 games of Tyre Brady at Marshall. I looked at 2017 NC State, 2017 Colorado State, 2018 Western Kentucky, and 2018 South Florida. The 2017 NC State film is just fun. It's really just it's phenomenal film. It's great. If you want to see Tyre Brady just go Kobe Bryant almost, you can go ahead. You can just watch that. The night Kobe got 81, he did whatever he wanted, scored from wherever he wanted. It seemed like he didn't miss a shot. Tyre Brady had over 15 catches in that game against NC State, buku yards, and a couple scores. So definitely go ahead. He had all the goods on display that day. So have fun. Sit back, relax, enjoy, get the popcorn ready. That's one hell of a show. And so, along with the NC State game and the 3 other games, this is what I love about Tyre Brady. What I love about Tyre Brady is that he played all over the field from the wide receiver position in college. I think at the next level, he's a slot receiver, possibly a Z. I don't think he has that true number 1 ability in the NFL. He is a good deep route runner. His ability to get deep, to get downfield, stretch the defense is what really sets him apart. I think from a lot of other wide receivers, he wins off the line with angles and quickness. He's not a very physical guy, even though you would think with his size and his stature, he'd maybe be a little bit more of a physical wide receiver. Really more of a finesse guy, good footwork. Can struggle with some press corners, but we'll get to that in a second. He can make the highlight play. That's just what it is. The guy is explosive, and when you have someone like that on your sideline, when you have someone like that in your offensive room, you definitely want to do what you can to get him the ball. He's dangerous. He's fun. He has big playability. When you look at him, he looks the part of an NFL receiver. The speed, the explosion, the quickness, everything lines up and matches that of an NFL receiver. So I love him from the physical standpoint, the athletic standpoint, his ability to make the highlight play. He's good at getting vertical. I think a lot of the other game necessities will come in time as he gets into the league and transitions. He's always been able to just get by on pure athleticism, just pure talent, being able to be better than everyone else. Maybe that'll continue in the NFL. I don't know. But if I had to bet. I don't think it will, but definitely he's a guy with a ton of upside. Call it the one-eyed monster because not only will it show everything good, it'll also come up and show us some areas that might be a concern or that might need some improvement. He has problems with true press corners. Like I said, he gets off the line in the jam with angles and quickness, and he does it in a very phenomenal way. The problem is if you're a true press corner, you lock him up, you get in there. Like we said, that lack of physical commitment will come out right then and there, and he won't get off, and he won't be able to get back on top of his route as quickly as he needs to be for the play to progress properly. When it comes to the run game, I don't say he's allergic to blocking like in a mean way. I say he's allergic to blocking just from the standpoint that he has no interest in it. It just looks like it's something that he just goes through the motions with. I understand that not everyone will be Hines Ward, but just give me a little bit of interest in the blocking game. He has the physical tools. He has the athleticism. Again, it seems like the physical standpoint, the physical contact part of the game isn't something that he really enjoys. You can see that again after the catch, tries to get around defenders, doesn't really go through. He'll try to dance sideline to sideline, go east-west instead of north-south to get those yards after catch. He's a body catcher in the intermediate game. When I say that, I mean you'll see him literally just get underneath the ball, let the ball come right on in, and he'll trap it between his pads and those two arms that he'll bring up right there. So he'll trap the ball against his body in the intermediate game if he has to go over the middle, things along those lines, which is another indicator that he's waiting for the contact to come as he's trying to brace and protect himself, try to absorb contact as he has to go over the dangerous parts of the field. Like I said, he was suspended for the final 3 games at Miami in 2015. Some people say that's what's led to his transfer. I would just talk to him. I feel like nowadays in college athletics, if a kid transfers, what does it really mean? It could be something where now NFL teams are going to have to start getting to a point where, depending on where they are and what state students are coming from, they're going to have to start lessening their stance on a lot of other social things as well. I know that there's been suspensions in the past in college athletics that have followed guys into the league for marijuana, but now with medical marijuana and recreational marijuana being legal in certain states, now it's going to put some NFL teams in a tough spot. I'm not saying that's what Tyre Brady's suspension was. I'm just saying as times change, you have to really dive into the suspension of that nature. It could have been something very minor. It just could have been the athletic department's policy, bringing in a mandatory 3-game suspension. So again, always want to talk to the kids about the suspensions and the transfers, get the true story from them. And then also, he can look like a first-round pick and a fifth-round pick in the same game from week to week. And it's just that consistency. He's so athletic and he's just so much fun to watch. And getting him in the open field, when the ball's in his hands, it's electric. But it's not electric every week. So, pros, cons, now the final verdict. Tyre Brady is a guy that I would rather be drawing up plays for instead of trying to draw up a defense for. He has the athletic tools to be a high-end role player in the NFL. I'm not saying a Pro Bowler. I'm not saying a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying a superstar. I'm saying a high-end role player. A guy that, if you're a true football fan, you'll definitely know his name, but he'll be known by more people than not. I think he's going to be a better pro than a college player just simply because of the athleticism. I think some guys, it just takes them a little bit longer to truly understand the craft of the position, and I think now with him being right on the cusp of playing pro ball, just being able to focus solely on route running and developing route running skills and improving blocking and being able to spend all day in the playbook and in the film room and going through conversations, drawing up diagrams and plays with coaches and other players. I think that he's really going to blossom on the next level. Once that finally hits, coupled with the athleticism, I definitely think you're looking at a guy that has a bright NFL future, but he needs to be in a pass-happy system that spreads the ball around. He doesn't need to be a guy that's going to get 18, 20 targets in a game. He doesn't need Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas treatment. What he needs is a healthy workload. He needs to be somewhere in that 8-9 target range to really be effective. That way, it's keeping him involved in the game, but also not letting him take plays off because you never knows when the ball's going to come his way. He did exactly what you needed him to do when he played down at Marshall. He dominated the conference and non-conference competition, which leads me to believe he's the ideal complementary NFL wide receiver. I think he'd be a very nice number 2 option. Some of these scheme fits that I see for him, the New Orleans Saints looked like they were lacking a playmaker as they went through the season. In the past game, especially once Ted Ginn got hurt, Traquan Smith never really popped how people thought he would. The suspension with Mark Ingram put a little bit more wear and tear on Alvin Kamara than originally anticipated. Ben Watson is probably headed for retirement, I'm pretty sure. So definitely, he's a guy that fits them as an offensive playmaker in the past game. Tampa Bay Bucks, they've had Deshaun Jackson. They got the kid from Penn State, Godwin. They got Adam Humphries. They got a bunch of field stretchers and slot receivers, but I feel like they could use someone else. Now with Bruce Arians coming in, Jameis Winston presumably being given the keys to the car, and just with BA's offensive background, Byron Leftwich, who's a former Marshall quarterback, I think all the steps are right there for him to land in Tampa. The Los Angeles Rams, Cooper Kupp got hurt. They went to Josh Reynolds. I don't really know what type of depth they have behind Cooks and Robert Woods. I feel like Tyre Brady is a guy that could go to LA, play a variety of positions, and definitely fill a role for them in that pass game. The Buffalo Bills, just because they don't have a wide receiver at all. And with Josh Allen having a huge arm, being a field stretcher, I definitely think that that's something that could be beneficial to the Bills, especially if they're going to try to be a team that's going to get it done on the ground. I would assume with Josh Allen's ability to run that's something that they would incorporate a little bit more moving forward with a ground-oriented attack, which could definitely help Tyre Brady with being a field stretcher. And finally, Kansas City Chiefs. They got Tyreek Hill, they got Travis Kelce, but now Kareem Hunt is no longer there. Sammy Watkins is a burner, but he's had foot injuries, and I feel that those are eventually going to catch up to him. Chris Conley has given him a good run when he's had to, but I don't feel that Chris Conley is a consistent enough option. I feel like with Mahomes, obviously Mahomes did unbelievable things in his first true season as a starting quarterback, but Tyre Brady is definitely someone that I feel could fit a couple of those different teams for a variety of reasons. Now, when it comes to player comparisons and draft grades, if he goes early, I think that's going to be round 3. You're looking somewhere 65, 73 overall. That is early, round 3. If he goes a little bit lower, you're looking round 5, somewhere 140 around to 160, looking middle, later part of 5. But I think most likely you're looking round 4, somewhere between 100 to 120, 99 to 120. I definitely think that he's a really high end guy right there in the 4th round. Definitely bring you a lot of value sooner rather than later. I think his pro game is very comparable to TJ Houshmandzadeh as a high end 2 option. I think that he has the ability as a 2 and from the slot to be TJ Houshmandzadeh like. Worst case scenario, I think you get Josh Reynolds. I mentioned the Los Angeles Rams. I mentioned how he played a big role for them with some injuries down the stretch. I feel that Tyre Brady, worst case scenario, could be a Josh Reynolds type wide receiver in the NFL. So going back through it all, Tyre Brady was a highly anticipated wide receiver addition for the Miami Hurricanes. Career never really panned out. A lot of the local football analysts thought that he was going to be the next wide receiver that was going to show up there and kind of outperform the recruiting number. Didn't go that way. Different things happened, led to his transfer to Marshall, where he dominated competition, conference and non-conference over the last 2 years. Repeat on the Conference USA All-Team. So definitely did what he had to do to create positive news around his name leading up to draft season. Did just come off the Senior Bowl. Did have some positive plays and reps over there. So definitely Tyre Brady as we get closer to April. Pay attention to his name. He's a name that could definitely be helpful for a team that's looking to reestablish themselves in the pass game and needs a little bit of wide receiver depth. Go ahead, take a quick little look at the sources that I used. And again, I'm Craig Forstall coming to you with a 2019 NFL Draft Player Profile. Just took a little bit of time going over Tyre Brady, his skill set. Going to be coming at you again with another film. Hope you'll be sticking around. Talk to you later.